All right, so I wanted to mention before, so your injury situation, it's kind of a bummer that you've got two of your top offensive players are probably out. Well, one for sure, and then Kulik is.
I'd say Kulik and Kozak are probable. Byro and Warren are out. Gasevich is out for the season. So, it's that time of year. I think every team is probably dealing with it to some extent. You certainly don't like it to be your some of your top guys. Byro and Kulik obviously have done what they've done, but Warren is a significant injury too, just because of the pace, the physicality, the penalty killing. He's one of our best penalty killers on top of it. So those are all guys you miss, but we have the depth, and other guys will just step up.
So many times, you know them, they know you. What ends up being the separators in a series when you play them 45 times already this year? It feels like.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I think you try to, as the series will go, there'll be adjustments. I'm sure they're making some minor adjustments. Both teams are 80 to 85% of who they are, and they're not going to change that. But there's 15% or so that both teams are willing to change based on opponent and try to take advantage of things or try to take things away. So I think what comes down to, right, is your best players being your best players. Goaltending, always in our sport, it always comes down to goaltending. That's one of the top 3 keys in every playoff series since the sport started. And then top players being top players, and then how long and how committed we can be to our identity and to break them of theirs, right? And that's what it takes in playoff hockey. It's not going to be easy. It's a 5-game series. You got to win 3. Based on last year's playoffs, probably half of them or more might go to overtime. And how long can you stay true, have a total team commitment to your identity and your style of play without wavering? And whoever can do that usually ends up on the good end of the scoreboard.
These guys jump in. The way the series is structured, is it kind of annoying that you're playing 2, almost a week off? If it's a long period, if it goes full 5 games, is that a good thing or a bad thing for a team?
Depends.
It depends on who wins the game, right?
Really, I long ago stopped caring about the schedule. I really, I have no control over it. Those things are made by league offices, by owners, by tickets, all those things. And so, if you looked at our game schedule this year, our regular season schedule, there's 5 or 6 games on there that you're like, this is insanely stupid that we're playing this game. Why are we busting 5 hours after playing somewhere else? Those things. But it just is what it is. And it's funny, we talked about that during those games. There's some games you look at the schedule and you're like, you're destined to lose. You're supposed to lose this game. They are rested. We just bust 5 hours and played the night before. I think in 5 of those games that I would have circled, we went 2-2-1 in those games. Well, those 5 points are why we're in the playoffs and why you get a bye, right? So you just play the schedule, and the league made it. It is so it is. So we have 2 games this week and 2 games next. We just have to prepare properly.
You guys played 12 times this year, 6-6. 4 out of the last 5 went to overtime. I mean, the margin for error and the familiarity with these sort of teams, kind of like DeSale's point. Is there a tendency to overthink it, that you know them so well that you want to change things or think that they're going to think that you think that they're going to do?
We're not going to. So our preparation is going to be very similar. Mistakes that I've made in my past coaching career, mistakes that our staff has made, of staffs I've been on, I think have been over preparing and making the guys play hesitant because they're thinking versus playing. This is a sport that you play on instinct and you play on habits. And we talked about that yesterday. It's why we've built, why we've demanded, why we've been on guys about having the right habits since day one. So that this time of the year you can play. So you make slight adjustments for your opponent, 100%. But we do that in the season as well. We'll spend a little more time in preparation and showing things that they're good at or that we can take advantage of. But we want this week to feel as close to normal in terms of the preparation for our guys as we can, so they can play freely.
What did you learn about yourself maybe through last year's playoff? What did you learn about yourself?
You know, I don't think a ton, to be honest. You know, everybody made a big deal of the fact that I never coached in pro and never coached in the playoffs in pro. And I certainly didn't feel like those were bigger games than coaching a world championship. I didn't feel like they were bigger games than coaching in the national tournament in college or in the Frozen Four. If I was coaching a Pee Wee team and we were in the state playoffs, I'd treat it with the same level of care and urgency that I would treat a pro hockey game. So I cared just as much about us winning in college or for USA as I do here. So to me, the playoffs last year felt like the playoffs did in NCAA and like the playoffs did when I coached the national team.
What do you tell some of the young guys that haven't gone through it? And you had the experience of kind of working with some of those guys last year, but you know, Rosanian and Kulik, what do you tell them anything extra to prepare for it or give them the heads up?
We talked about yesterday. We had a meeting, not a long meeting, a brief meeting, and the guys spoke more than the staff did, because it's always better when it comes from your teammates. So we talked about what playoff hockey means, and it's different in North America. In Europe, sports as a whole is kind of driven by soccer, right? That's the big sport in Europe. And they don't have playoffs. They play their regular season, and the top teams get to the Champions League, the bottom teams get relegated, and that's it. There's not best of fives, best of sevens, and so that's part of the fabric of our culture in North America, that all of our sports end with big playoffs, and the playoffs are everything. So we thought it was important to talk a little bit about it. We let our older guys that have went through a lot of these things spoke. We had a few things to add. We asked that I told Kulik to watch the first couple games in the NHL. It was funny this morning. He watched Toronto and Tampa last night. I said, "What'd you think?" He says, "Too many skins." We call getting a piece of people getting a skin on somebody. So it was a pretty funny response. Just he was acknowledging that the physicality goes up at this time of the year. So you can prepare them all you want, but then game one happens and you get hit in the face, and then you react, and you do the best to prepare, but there's going to be some growing pains and some things that go with that, and that's okay.
You mentioned how the team kind of led that discussion. Does it help? Do you guys feel a little more comfortable this year when you had that playoff run last year, as opposed to, we went to it last year, we went 2 years without Calder Cup playoffs. Do you feel that the team is more ready, that now that a lot of this core went through this run last year?
It's a good question. I think every team's a little different. So, but I do think that there's confidence earned in Mersch and Prow and Malone and some of the go-to core guys. The Tishkes and Elliots and Warren and those guys. They just have been through things, and it's not. I don't think it's just the playoffs, though. I think it's the culmination of the 2 years and the adversity and getting into the playoffs last year and then being successful in the playoffs and having a successful regular season this year. I think all of those things accumulated earns them belief in what they're doing and what we're trying to stand for.
You have that last 3-game series where you need to just win one to get this bye. You guys get knocked down twice. How nice was it for you as a coach to see them respond on Sunday, get that win, and move one step further?
I would prefer to Friday or Saturday, but it was great. This team's resilience and their care and love for each other, and for playing for the Amerks is really strong. So there's never a waiver on that. I don't think we were particularly poor Friday, Saturday. That things just went against us. Maybe we didn't execute down the stretch a little bit in some games, but I thought that Sunday's effort was indicative of what this team has tried to stand for all year. Your back's against the wall a little bit. You're tired. You're in a 3-3. 5 of your forwards are out of the lineup. 2 other guys in that game had to miss time in that game. I think we were down to 10 forwards at one point, or 9 maybe. Rusek's playing center, position he doesn't play. It was kind of all hands on deck. and the guys found a gutty way to win. It was an ugly game. We weren't great. We found a way to win. Subban was outstanding. Great response to a game Friday he probably wasn't happy with, and that didn't surprise me either. So this group stood for the right things all year, and I thought that game was a good example of that.
What do you think kind of clicked down the stretch when you guys went on that big point streak?
Well, I think it clicked 15 to 20 games before that. It just wasn't always resulting in wins. We talked about that with the media. We talked about it with our team, that we really liked the way our team was playing for probably 15 games leading up to that 13 game run where we won, I think we're 9-1-3 or whatever it was. And we weren't always getting the results for one reason or another. Maybe the other team's goalie had a great night. Maybe our goalie had an off night, whatever it was. I think that 25 games ago, our young guys stopped playing like young guys. They stopped playing like rookies. So it doesn't mean they're perfect, but they had less nights that they looked like they were in over their head. So maybe 3 out of every 4 out of every 5 were really strong nights. So then they started to become more dominant impact players. I thought that the 4 drivers, the young group, Byro, Rusek, Murray, Weisbach, all elevated in the second half of the season. And this is their first time being considered go-to guys at this league. They're still young players. And so I think that was a piece of it. And I think collectively our group made a more concerted effort to be good defensively. And when you are good defensively, your offense comes with it. It's counterintuitive for young players, but the better defense you play, the more offense you get. And our goals against numbers started to go dramatically down. And our analytical numbers defensively went way high. And when you start playing like that, eventually you're just going to start winning hockey games.
And then what do you hope these young guys, your rookies, take from this playoff run, kind of long term?
First of all, how fun it is. This is a special time of year if you're a hockey person. The weather starts to get warmer, the games become more important, the physicality rises, the crowds are sold out. You live for it. You dream about it when you're a little kid and you're playing street hockey or on the pond. These are the games that you're playing when you're a little kid with your buddies. And it's fun, but it's earned. And I want them to take away how fun it is, but also double down on the work necessary to earn more of these moments going forward in their careers. Because you don't get these moments without pushing through the dog days in the summer of your training or pushing through the dog days of the season in February when the games are miserable and you're tired and fatigued. So these are special moments, but they're earned and it requires a lot of work, and I want them to cherish that.